so that we can get started with our awesome, amazing guest and myself. Um, and I'll introduce myself shortly. Hi, Jackie. How you doing? Yes. So we are live in the studio, and this is late night tea. If y'all don't know who I am Danielle C. Giddens. I come to you by way of late night tea through this awesome, wonderful book that I have wrote, From Poverty and Prison to Purpose, A Journey of Discovering Freedom. And so what I do is I talk about late night tea from the conversations or the things that I've journey through in this book that actually gave me freedom, I needed healing from, or that I still have not yet to, overcome. But most of the things that I've talked about in the book, I've found some freedom to it. But these conversations help me. And I figure, why don't we all go on this journey of freedom together? And so tonight, y'all, I have a very, very special guest. She has been in my life for 24 years. I met her when I entered to a professional, stepped on the stage to a professional salon in the beauty industry. This was my first on the job training in the salon, and I met her as a nail tech. So I'm going to bring her on. We're going to have some great conversation, and we're going to talk about, if you have not seen the email, we're going to talk about, y'all know, y'all go take a car on some test driving, right? So we're talking about sex driving. When you want to test somebody out, you want to take some, have some sex before you buy the car. So y'all having sex out here before y'all, get into these courtships. But we're going to have some deep conversations about that because it didn't work for me. So I'm very sure it's not working for you guys. But we're going to have some late night tea conversation tonight, and I'm going to bring my guest on. And we're going to say, hello.
Hello, how are you? Hey, girl,
I'm
hey.
wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. I'm spectacular.
Great. So she is, let me tell y'all, I'm going to let her introduce herself. And you guys on Instagram, you guys will only be able to hear her. If in fact you want to see this beautiful woman of God, you would need to go to Facebook, or I will upload it on my YouTube by Sunday. But this woman of God, I met her at a salon that we both worked at.
Yeah.
It was my first time at that salon, and that was 24 years ago. And a lot has happened over those 24 years, but we're going to get into three things and we have not seen or talked to each other in I don't know how long. We text every now and then, we text. But this is an example of when somebody loves you, have love for you, godly love for you. And when the Lord say, oh, I need you to reach out and touch your sister,
Yeah.
then she'll reach out and touch me.
That's
And whatever else comes. But I just want to introduce y'all to my sister. She's my friend. She's a confidant that I have used, and she has been very intricate in my marriage in the beginning stages. Her name is Celeste Whitley, and it's Pastor Celeste Whitley. Now, I'm a friend, so I can call her Celeste, but
That's right.
do I have okay, I can.
Yes.
I have permission to call you.
Celeste,
Okay, because I respect the people
Celeste is
of the
just
cloth. Okay.
fine.
So this is my friend Celeste. Hi, Celeste. How you doing?
How are you, honey bun?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Thank you for the invite. Thank you so much. I think what you're doing
Mhm.
is a great thing over here. It's a
Oh,
great,
thank you so much.
it's an honor and a privilege to be here with
Oh,
you.
thank you. It's an honor and privilege for you to accept it because I know that you have a very tight schedule. Might I add, I understand that. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get into these conversations, but first we're gonna talk about our relationship.
Yes.
So I met you coming into the salon 1998. What was your first impression of me?
1998. Come
It was
on.
1998.
I don't
When
know.
the little hood girl, Danielle Rogers.
I must have been about 3 years old when he died.
When the hood girl, Danielle Rogers, stepped on the scene in that salon, like, what did you think?
I thought I was like, okay, all right, this is different. This is really different because the place where we worked at the
Yes.
time, I remember she wanted somebody fresh out of school.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I wanted somebody that was fresh so we could start off and launch something great together. And I was like, and this is who you picked right here? Okay.
Little hard
But
girl.
but moments after talking to you, it was like, oh, I get it. She's
Oh,
something
okay.
special. She's something special.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
because
that's so
you
sweet.
were real. You were real. It was that's one of the things that I would say about you is you are one of the most authentic people that I've ever known. That what you see is what you get, and that's a treasure. That's a treasure.
Oh, thank you,
In times
Celeste.
like these, with imposters and masks on and representatives from the very beginning. From the very beginning, it was like, this is who I am.
This is who I am, but I was a little rough, y'all.
You
So
were,
that's
you
why
were,
she was like, this girl was
you
special,
were.
honey.
You
I was
came
rough
straight to
around
the
all
point.
the edges. It wasn't nothing fluff or, cute,
Yeah,
dainty,
yeah. But
classy about me. It was good. And to be honest, this was the first time a hood girl was around all of these different classy women.
you right about
So, but I had enough sense to
it.
keep my little hood mouth closed
You did.
and learn what I needed to learn from the classy women.
And my goodness, did you? Did you learn?
I did. I did. I did. So that's where our relationship began, 1998, y'all. And so that relationship has blossomed like tremendously, leading into, I remember our well, no, because I used to come get nail services from you when you left. And then we would have you've always been a great sounding board for me.
Yeah.
You were always a safe place for
One-
me to be able to have conversations and not judge and not be like, you need to, because
Right.
I don't like those people that tell you need to do and you need to, because it's not that easy.
Nope.
It's not that easy.
It's not easy at all. Matter of fact, if it was that easy, I would do it on my own.
Exactly. And I wouldn't need to talk to
That's
anybody,
right.
which is why you're a great coach. So I get why you are a coach, because I'm like, yeah, she's coached me through a lot of things.
I've been coaching before coaching was what we called it.
Yeah, that is true. Exactly.
It's
Exactly. Because that's a little fad out here too.
yeah.
Yeah, a
I've been
trend.
doing this for a very long time.
Yes, you have. So that was, once we transitioned, we still stayed connected. And then some way or another, you decided to add me into Glam Squad.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
like, why did she pick me? And where did this come from? So tell us about Glam Squad and how you see out now. Let me tell you, I couldn't remember if the L was for ladies or leaders on
Leader.
Glam.
It was
So,
it was for ladies and it was for leaders.
okay.
Really.
All right. Well,
We called it ladies. We called it, glam was God's ladies
ladies
appointed
for ministry.
ministry.
Yes. Now I
It's
did get that part right. I just couldn't remember the squad. I remember qualified,
yeah,
and that's it. So I ain't even put that on the post, y'all. But Glam Squad
yeah.
she was a founder of that ministry, and Glam stood for God's leaders or ladies
It was
appointed
it,
for
it was
ministry.
it was ladies, but ended up being leaders.
Leaders, right. So what made you pick me? I don't think I ever asked that question. I mean, I know it was God, but
Because you've always been an anointed, a God, a inspiring, encouraging person. You've always you've always been a carrier of, I'm gonna use my language not to be offensive, but a carrier of glory. You've
Mhm.
always been that. And so, and me thinking about Glam Squad, it was women who just needed, I want to say, doctrine and leadership skills to the anointing and a platform to do it. So
Yeah.
it was like training ground for all of
Yeah.
us. I
Yeah.
wasn't pastoring at that time. Pastoring wasn't even in anywhere in my I don't even know how to say it. It was nowhere on my radar.
It wasn't no not to cut you off. It wasn't anywhere on your radar. But trust me, you were pastoring.
Listen,
You
today
were
I know that.
pastoring.
Today
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Glam Squad was my introduction into pastoral training. It really was.
And I will add to say you were pastoring women that were maybe under a leadership that
Yep.
no longer felt that they were being pastoring in the ministries that they were in.
And it wasn't to take anyone away from their ministry,
Nope.
but it was just, we women have a very hard time being equipped in the church
Yes.
when
Yeah.
we are powerful, when
Mhm.
we carry heavy anointings. Apostolic grace is what I call it.
Mhm.
That's very, very challenging to find leaders that
Yes.
are confident enough to push those women and give them what they need. And that was what I was lacking in ministry. So I said that when you see a problem, it's usually because you are part of the solution.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
saw the problem, and God was like, "What are you going to do about it?" And so I was surrounded by powerful women that were
Mhm.
like, "What do I do with all this anointing?
Mhm.
What do I do with all of this?"
And you poured into us. Like you poured in, like I thought about that, leading up for the last 3 weeks of me preparing. Every now and then I would go and make some notes. And the one thing I remember is that, we diligently showed up when you scheduled those meetings. They were at her home. We showed up. She poured into us. And sometimes you don't realize these things, but 3 weeks ago when I was preparing for it, it was like, I was like, okay, God, what I'm doing next. And he was like, oh, he dropped you in my spirit. And I was like, oh, yeah, that would be great. But some of the things throughout the 3 weeks I forgot about. And then when I realized it, I'm like, you literally showed up like nonstop to every meeting, to every gathering that and it poured into me. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
like you don't realize where all of these things come from and how many times God put somebody in your space
That's
to
right.
help you. But I know that Glam Squad helped me for even me being in color culture.
Yeah.
So it was like Glam Squad. I was in Glam Squad, and then I transitioned into the beauty stuff, into color culture. And so it was like God always transitioned me into a whole nother different group of people. It was almost as if what I learned from you, I wound up using inside of color culture.
That's
Like,
how it is. That's how it is with the treasures that God has given us. He's given it to us to use in the kingdom first, but it transitions to the workplace and to the marketplace. So look, I looked it up. I went back to my notes because I
okay,
didn't want to mess it up. It's gifted ladies
gifted.
anointed for ministry. The squad is sanctified, qualified, unusually appointed, and destined. And that was
Did
us.
you hear that?
That was
Yes,
us. Word.
unusually
Unusually
appointed
appointed
and destined.
and destined. Like God used the unusual people to put in incredible platforms like this. The
I was
unusual.
getting ready to say, and like, just thinking about all of the 5 women, we transition out different women. But to think about, when I think about all of the 5 women, I know at least 4 of them are doing like they have blossomed. Like I see them, they are and have their platforms, they are doing ministry in the marketplace, like you said. because we are doing what God purposed us to do. And
Absolutely.
so, with that, of course, thank you, my love. I appreciate you seeing me before I saw myself. And that's why you need to have, when you have a relationship with God, God will put people in your space to pull you from out of some Egypt situations,
Yeah.
so that he can push you into the place and help birth you into where you belong. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where Glam Squad came from.
Yeah.
But y'all, tonight we are about to talk about Worth the Wait, which is her
Ooh,
second. Yes, yes, y'all get excited
it's like
because
that.
before we talk about Worth the Wait, we gonna talk about this test driving, which we ain't talking about test driving a car. We talking about sex driving.
Yes,
Y'all
indeed.
out here sex driving some individuals. And listen, I done did it. I ain't on here with no judgment because we both did it. So,
And
we were the girls that had to test it out before we go, oh, this is good. Oh, this is a good relationship.
that's right.
From sex, y'all. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But this is how broken women, or women that have been influenced by, bad behavior, or women that don't have a lack of self-love or have a twisted, um, you know, uh, definition to love. This is how we think. And so before we go talking about worth the wait, because we got some tea on that, honey, because this girl was around when Danielle C. Giddens, had to, well, Danielle Rogers had to shut her little stuff down. So, sexting, honey,
Yeah.
test driving. So,
Yeah.
tell us, let's talk about sex first, and then we're going to get into worth the wait.
Okay. So
Okay.
which you want to talk about sex? Which you want to talk? Because I can talk about this.
I know you can talk about sex.
I can rock and roll with this.
Yes, let's talk about like what is. I know for me, it was like my lack of my molestation that sent
Yeah.
me into immoral, behavior. Me not valuing myself. But I want you to talk to the women tonight of those things that we are lacking as women, or those things that make us do or have that behavior where we have to give it up on the first date, where
Yeah.
we have to feel like we gonna have sex into a relationship. Like what you feel about all of that?
I kind of think for what I would say about sex for me, my introduction into sexual relationship was out of I don't want to say pressure as in somebody forced me to do it, but
Mhm.
it was the pressure of this is what happens. Once you
Mhm.
date for a little while and
Mhm.
y'all cool for a minute, the next
Mhm.
thing you know, you to take the relationship to the next level, you have to have sex. It
Mhm.
was never ever introduced to me that sex was something that you should wait for marriage except for from a religious perspective.
Mm.
It was don't have sex because you're going to get pregnant and God is going to condemn you for and crucify you if you have
Mhm.
sex and then go to church. It was like that. And so but along with that condemnation about uh not having sex was if you go out on Saturday night and stay out too late, if you wear lipstick before it's time.
Yes.
There was so many other
So
religions
many different things, right?
that it was like, well, if I didn't die from the lipstick, then I guess I ain't gonna die from the sex either. So, you just kind of got into it, just
Yes.
into it. But I
Yes.
really think it was just because that was the norm. The
It was
norm
that
was
religious fear.
it was I was rebellious. So
Yeah.
when you get older, you start rebelling against what mama and grandmama say and all of that.
Yes.
But sex was just what we did.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
was telling you not to do it.
No.
Like
Nobody told you
that.
not to do it. They just said, don't have sex because you're gonna get
Get
pregnant.
pregnant. That's right. That was
Yeah,
it.
it's like,
And I was
okay.
like, well, they got condoms for that.
Yeah, exactly. When you tell people don't cross the street, what do? We cross the street.
I was
Yeah,
like, well, they can pull out. Now I ain't worried about it. we'll be fine. We ain't have no sex. I mean, we ain't have no kids. Because it was what
Exactly.
everybody was doing. Like when you went to the movies, it's what was happening at the movies. When you went
Prom,
to
on a
prom,
senior prom, it's like, oh, you're gonna get some on this
yeah,
prom.
like a rites of passage almost. It was
Yeah,
just what came with it.
yeah.
Like you would be laughed at and mocked
If
for
you
being
didn't.
outside of the prom experience and aversion.
That's a great, that's I'm glad you said that because I totally forgot about that. But
Yeah,
that was the outside peer pressure,
yeah,
the peer pressure from in the church,
yeah,
just the pressure or the lack of what you didn't get from home, like the information you didn't get from your parents or in the house. And it made you, just form this perception of, well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see what
yeah,
it's about.
yeah.
And
It
so
wasn't
when,
for me, Danny, it wasn't even an option not to do it.
Mhm,
It was
mhm.
just when were you going to do it?
Wow, when were you going to do it?
When
When?
were you gonna do it? Not if I'm gonna do it.
Right,
I
right.
knew, like, oh, it's what it was almost as if what you had to do.
Exactly, exactly. And so, now we're moving into a time, it's like that's something you had to do. And so now we're moving into a time where, it's like we got relationships, situationships, we got all of these other things, that we doing, casual sex, everybody having sex on a first date, and when AIDS came out, it was like it was supposed to have been this fearful thing that scared us, but it didn't even scare us because I believe that because we already had this impoverished mindset, because we already had this, this, influenced behavior that wasn't good behavior, it was like that's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And so we still continue that behavior. And in us continuing this behavior, it's like nobody ever said, whoa, lady, get yourself together. Let me show you what a woman looks like. Let me show you that sex is not the only thing that
Yes.
you need to worry about as when it comes to a man. And so for me, nobody ever gave me that information. And so I remember, me coming to you. It was a couple of things that happened, when I was out here having sex. But I don't know, for some reason, I always called you when it got really intense. And
You're
so
not talking.
I'm out here sex driving, y'all. That's what I was doing. I'm out here testing. Yeah, that one ain't it. Oh, we in the I was sexting now because I was dating and sexing at the first
Yeah,
day. So I'm in relationships and it's like it's going bad. We don't know nothing about each other, but we sexing up, which is where these soul ties come from.
there you go. There
And
you
so
go.
when you out here creating soul ties with people that you don't know anything about, your mindset and everything else change. Let's talk about soul ties for a minute.
So, I have this saying. It's a very familiar saying that if I knew then what I know now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
goodness gracious, goodness.
Yes.
And it's not that I live with regret. That's not it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish the lesson would have been taught properly or
Mm-hmm.
or, or expounded upon at least. So
Mm-hmm.
think about soul ties. We think about I refer to them as points of reference.
Mm-hmm.
So for the single person that's out here sex driving and testing this person out. What I understand, Dan, is that they don't know that that's what they're doing. They
Mm-hmm.
just think this is what comes along with the relationship. I
Yeah.
like the guy, I'm vibing with him, he vibing with
Mm-hmm.
me. So the next level we get into is sex. I
Yeah.
get to feel how he feels about me. I get to express how I feel about him. But what
Mm-hmm.
we do is we make these connections that interlock within our soul. So then
Mm-hmm.
the relationship is over. Nothing unlocks it. It's
Mm-hmm.
still locked and ties a knot in the soul that
Mm-hmm.
belongs to that person. So then, okay, that relationship didn't work out. So now I go on to the next relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and then I get intimate with them, and then our souls interlock. And
Mm.
now I've got chain lock after chain lock after chain lock. As many people as I engage in sex with is as
Mm.
many ties and knots and chains that I have within my soul. So now you get the good thing. You get a good man, good
Mm.
woman. If it's a man listening, you get the good relationship, the
Mm.
relationship that's valuable, that's
Mm.
worthy.
Mm.
You have to go back and deal with all of those
Mm.
lots that you have within your soul.
Woo!
Find a way to unplug them, because the only thing that deals with old soul ties is purity, is true unconditional love. So for
Wow.
the person that says, "Oh, okay, I stopped," and I used to think, Dan, that the soul ties went away if I just stopped having sex, but they don't go away. I just don't get more soul ties.
Mm. But you
But
still got to deal with the ones
I
that you want.
still, the only thing that causes me to deal with old soul ties is the unconditional love of who? It can be of God, it can be of myself, or it
Mhm.
can be a loving relationship. So
Mm.
for the person, like, okay, you got a soul tie from somebody, let's say soul tie number two.
Mhm.
Soul tie number two was the guy that used to wear Calvin Klein cologne. He used to wear Klein cologne. You were into him. You know that fragrant anyway. Be like, oh, that was Johnny with that Calvin Klein
Yes.
cologne. When he would
Yeah.
put that cologne on, baby, put on some R. Kelly, I knew
Mhm.
what time it was. It was time. So
Mm.
now you done left Johnny alone. You done slept with 50, 60 people in between Calvin Klein cologne, and now you got your good thing. Now you married.
Mm.
You in Rite Aid.
Mm.
Somebody spray some Calvin Klein cologne.
And it remind you of Johnny.
You go home and you sitting there looking at your husband, or you sitting there looking at your husband, and you like, I remember when Calvin Klein used to nail me to the wall, and
Mm.
now all you do is rub on my thigh.
Mm. And you trying to compare.
That's the power of a soul tie.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, that was good.
And
That
so
was
it's nothing you can do to get it, or except for God to love you through it.
oh my gosh. Like that is so good. First, we want to talk about these knots. That
Yeah,
that was the one thing that I heard that was powerful is the knots that
yeah,
you
it
have.
is. It's a
And
knot.
just imagine it reminds me of the baggage that they talk about when you carry into a relationship, because once you do, it's like when you have that relationship with God, God is healing you, God is transitioning your mind, but it's that tangible thing where you have to put in some work and start to effectively actively work on unraveling those knots.
And they are not easy. They're not comfortable.
No.
They will cause you to confront things that you have forgotten about and overlooked.
Mhm.
Why you chose Johnny with the Calvin Klein cologne, why
Yes.
why you got into that, knowing that he
It
was
wasn't,
he
yeah.
wasn't even
Mhm.
he wasn't even a good,
Worth
not
worth
I don't,
your time.
he didn't even put the G in good guy. You know what
No,
I mean?
no,
You
not
knew.
at all. But
Right.
that's because you was like, oh, the sex is good.
That is.
The
That
sex
is.
is good. And so, when you think about a relationship for a woman that is trying to transition, and you are out here looking for a relationship, you are looking for you're dating because you want to be in a courtship, and a courtship is intentional dating. You and this other person are intentionally dating to marry. And so when you get into a courtship, and now well, you're dating to get into a courtship, and now you're trying to figure out what actually should you be doing. Basically you should be looking at a lot of other things
You
other
should be
than
looking at a lot
sex.
of other things. I apologize for cutting you off.
No, step
You
in.
should be looking for other things that you cannot see if you having sex. Not
Yeah.
that you don't see. People think that, oh, if that I don't see it. No, you can't see it.
Mm-mm.
You will never see it because it doesn't come to the surface, because the sex masquerades it. It masks it. It
Yeah,
covers
yeah.
it. So
Because it make you not want to deal with anything. You just like it got all your emotions all hooked up.
the sex is good. I don't know if you like me just for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
can't erase the good sex.
No,
You can't
no.
erase it. You can't say, baby, if we wasn't having sex, would you still like me?
Or, you start asking questions, can we go out to dinner? Can we go here? You want to start taking them places. You want to go back and start dating after you done sexed. And every time you do it, they have sex so that you won't ask them no more.
Sex is supposed to be a a matter for husband and wife.
Mhm.
We have it for that.
Mhm.
It's for the interlocking and the union of a married couple, getting to know each other in an intimate way. If we believe, and I
Yeah,
know that there's some people who don't
yeah,
believe,
they don't believe.
but if we believe that marriage was instituted by God, that God gave us the ability to have sex, He gave
Mhm.
us the organs to have sex with, He
Mhm.
made it a pleasurable act between
Yeah.
where you get that from Pastor Celeste's Song of Solomon.
Mhm.
Solomon tells us that very, very good.
Mhm.
It lays it out very
Does.
nicely to say that sex is a gift from God,
Mhm.
pleasurable for husband and wife. With that being said, if we use things outside of its definition,
Mhm. Mhm.
use the power of it,
Yes,
we mishandle it.
we
So
mishandle it.
we mishandle sex. And listen, I know people are like, y'all don't know what it's like out here. Y'all married, it's easy for y'all to
We
say.
know.
I didn't get married till I was in my late 30s.
Right. Mine was after 40.
I gave it away.
Yes. Yes. Late 40s. And I was recklessly out here.
I was,
Sucking up.
I was
So,
too. I
yes.
was reckless.
And the funny thing is, just so that, we are, redeemed, we are married, we do look at it differently. But here's the thing. So, with me, it was like, I remember, if y'all read my book, I talk about this encounter that I had before I met my husband. This encounter was a soul tie that had me tied up. And I'm going to tell y'all, I was at the church every Sunday, standing on the door, ushering y'all right down into y'all seats, praising and worshiping God, because I know that's where I need to be, because I knew that I needed help. And He was the only one that can help me. None of y'all couldn't help me
Yeah,
or redeem me
yeah,
or save me.
yeah.
And so while I was there, I, over here back into my soul tie situation. And this guy, like, just sexually just kept reeling me in, just reeling me in, reeling me in.
Ooh, yes,
And
indeed.
I tried to break away 3 times. And he knew how to reel me in. And the thing is that when we had this first conversation about God, talking about scripture, doing one of our dates, and I was just like, oh yes, thank you.
Great. Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is it.
this is it.
But you gotta be careful out there with these double-minded men that are unstable in all their ways, because this joker was unstable. He knew what women wanted to hear and women were looking for. And so he became it.
Yeah.
And so me being, all over there trying to, pull myself away. Um, it was this one particular time where, my pastor at the time was like, hey, God told me it's time for you to go into leadership. I need you to, start preparing for deaconship. And I'm looking at him like, nigga, you crazy? You know what I'm out here doing? God told you that? God ain't tell you that, because I know what I was doing yesterday. He ain't tell you that about me.
Not me.
Yeah. And so then, I go praying, and, it's like, yeah, shut yourself down. And
Yeah,
so anything, when it comes to me, anything of God, I ain't playing. He knew I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So at this point, now I got reason to shut this thing down. Now I started through this process and I started like, yeah, I ain't gonna do that. Now I got reeled in again, but I continue on through this process because after I got reeled in that last time, I knew that day, put my clothes on. I was like, this is it, you guys.
I'm finished.
I'm
Yeah.
done. That was the last rodeo. And so I devoted myself for that period of time and this was a September that I started, got messed up in November and got back on a, paddy wagon after that. And I met my husband December the 30th. That was our first date, December the 30th. And so here I am meeting this guy, totally different than what I'm used to, but I'm going along with the flow. And this is where the second transition came in, where Celeste helped me in my life. The first one was she helped me from this single hood girl to this woman, transitioning to this woman. And so the second one was this single girl that's not understanding marriage, don't know nothing about it, don't know what it looked like. And I couldn't trust myself. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy said that I'm his wife. I don't know nothing about that. I text her like, can I meet with you?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, well, what is it about? I was like, I just need to talk to you.
Right. I remember clearly.
You do. Because,
Yeah.
okay, I'm glad you remember clearly. All I knew was that I needed to talk to her because I needed her to help me understand what I never saw before, which was a man wanting something from me that I wanted. He wanted to give me something that I always wanted, but I didn't know what that looked like.
That's right.
And so I went to her and I was like, can you help me, please? Because I understand, but you asked me 3 questions.
Okay, ma'am, you got me. I don't remember.
Okay,
I'm gonna go.
3 questions, and I don't remember what those 3 questions was, but I know when I left, I wasn't the little rabbit anymore.
Right.
I know that I sat with her and she calmed me down. And I think that what she did was in those questions, she kind of put me in the mind frame of what I'm looking for and what I'm looking at. It's like she gave me what I didn't know about, which is to look at this from a different perspective.
Most
So I don't know if you remember what those things was, but tell them, about this. What do you ask when people come to, because I know you are doing marriage, premarital counseling and stuff. So if somebody come to you and be like, I think this man is my husband, like, what does that look like for you as a pastor and a coach?
For me as a coach, I ask, what are you worth? What are you worth? Are you aware of what you're worth? Are you settling? Are you settling, or is this what God wants for you? Most of the time we're settling for what we did not have.
Yes.
What I mean by that is a lot of us are daddyless girls, and daddyless girls are usually in a space where, okay, if my father wasn't there, I just want a man that's there.
Yes. So he won't leave me like my father.
Right. And so his qualifications are you there? But he's there playing PlayStation while you go to work. He's there driving your car to go around the way while you go to school to get your RN certification.
Give us these situations because they out here.
You didn't have a father, you didn't know your father, and so the first person that tells you you're pretty, you open up your legs. So my question is, are you settling? Have you considered what you deserve, what you're worth? If you don't know your worth, don't get into a marriage relationship. Because you have to know, am I worth the weight? Am I worth the weight? What do you mean, Pastor? What are you talking about? Am I worth the weight? Am I worth waiting for marriage?
Mm.
Am I worth courting before marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I doing the courting? So if I'm doing the courting, then I'm doing the fishing.
Yes.
I'm the fish.
Yes. That don't make sense.
Don't catch fish.
Mm-mm.
That's not how it works.
No.
That's not how it works.
No.
I'm the catch. To those that are listening, you're the catch.
Yes.
Are
Yes.
you worth being caught? Or are you so premature that you're going to get thrown back in the water once somebody sees who you really are?
Mm. Mm.
So,
Jesus.
so consider, am I worth being married? Am I settling?
Mm-hmm.
Am I just taking the first person because I'm working on something for some singles tomorrow? And I was talking to some single women earlier today, and she said it's the pickings are so slim. So you have people that are settling out of desperation.
Yes.
To settle for this guy because I might not get another guy.
Yes.
I don't want to be old and lonely.
Yes.
So you lose hope. And
Yes.
so to those that come and say, "Oh, I'm ready to get married. We love each other." Okay, we got to go a little bit further than love.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's define your worth. Let's define his worth.
And I
And
think
once
that
you
is
do
the
that,
most important thing
yeah,
that you said. Like, what is your worth?
yeah,
Are you worth the wait? It has nothing to do, what you said is so powerful because it has nothing to do with him or her.
no,
It has a lot to do with you as a person. Yes, somebody said such a great question. It is such a great question because it removes the other person from
yeah,
out of the equation and it allows you to look at like, what are you worth?
yeah.
Do you know your worth? And if
Because
you do
marriage
know
is
your
going to
worth,
test that.
yes. Oh, yes. 100%. 100%. It's going to test it. And
Mhm,
so that's an awesome thing for, for us to take away,
mhm.
that one powerful thing. Do
Yeah,
you know your worth?
yeah.
And so I think at that moment, I did know my worth.
Mhm.
I just didn't understand what all of this looked like because I had messed up so many times that I was afraid that I would mess up again. But I do remember you telling me. I do remember you telling me. But Dan, she called me Dan if y'all ain't heard it.
Yeah,
You gonna have to shut the sex department down.
you have to.
And it
Because
was
you
just
won't
like,
know what you have. You
mhm,
won't know the value of the relationship if
mhm,
you cloud it with sex,
mhm.
especially when we've given it away.
Yes,
I personally was very promiscuous. Um,
yes,
I didn't have a lot of I didn't measure relationships before I would be intimate with somebody in a very decent way. So I
yeah.
slept with people I had no business sleeping with. So
Mhm.
my husband and I, we celebrated our 16th anniversary
Yes,
yesterday.
y'all have. That is awesome. 16 years.
Yeah. And so in our discussion last night, because we always discuss where our marriage is on our anniversary. And
Mhm,
we were talking about our courtship.
mhm,
And for those that don't know my history, I'm not getting into all of that, but I'm not talking at or judging anybody.
mhm,
I had sex, have a child, that child's out of wedlock, but I got
mhm,
married and did not have sex with my husband until my wedding night. And it's
mhm,
because I had been broken so badly in
mhm,
relationships and had
mhm,
been beat down just by my own poor decisions that the
mhm,
last relationship that I was in prior to my husband, I thought I was going to marry him. He came home and was like, "I'm leaving because you going somewhere. I can't go with you." He left, and I said to God, I knew that wasn't going to work because I wasn't doing it your way. But I'm giving you my heart, and don't give it back to me until he's my husband. I'm giving you my body, and I will not give it to anybody until I'm married. Point
mhm.
blank, period. And 2.5 years later, I got married.
Wow.
I had sex with my husband until my wedding night. And it was the best decision I ever made because in that 2.5 years, I recognized my worth. I
Yes.
recognized who I was in God and who God created for me. And I wanted something that I had never seen before. So I had to do what I had never done before.
Mm. She wanted something that she had never seen before, i.e., that's what I said. I ain't never seen marriage.
That's
So
right.
she had to do something that she had never done before.
That's right.
And because she did it,
Yep. You can
it,
see.
it became her message to other women.
That's
And
right.
so because she did it, she charged me to do it.
And I've got testimony after testimony.
Yes, you have, girl. Yes. Now, what I will say that I ain't never tell you,
Come on.
late night tea. So
Yeah.
what I will say is that I entered this relationship exactly the way that she told me.
Yeah.
I committed myself to abstinence
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I don't need to have sex. I
Yeah.
committed myself to abstinence, and somebody said I did it too. Yes, girl, you are. That's what you doing out here. That's what worth the wait is
That's
about.
right.
You
That's
know,
right.
making women. You know what? My pastor, I had him on talking about the abandoned dads. Like, where's my daddy?
Yeah.
And he said, if you give, he said the power is in the P and the V. If you give that up, you give your power up.
That's right.
And so it goes to what you're saying, like you give up all power and all everything in your right mind that allows you to think about, is this person good for me?
Yeah.
And so me moving into that relationship with my husband, it was good, it was great. I went into it with abstinence, and then old homegirl showed up
Go ask.
because of those knots that you talked about.
Uh-huh.
The
Well,
old girl showed up like, forget this, man. I'm not doing this. Like, let me see what he about.
yeah.
So, we started doing that, and it was just like, okay,
Mhm.
until a couple of maybe like a couple of times, we might have had sex 3 times, and he was like, and he was staying over my house. So we
Uh-huh.
had sex 3 times, and he was staying over my house. And he went on this men's retreat and came back and was like, I need to talk to you. You need to talk to me about it. Ain't you coming to stay tonight? Because that's how I'm looking at it. Like, we don't need to talk about nothing. But he came over there and he sat down and was like, I'm coming to get my stuff. I do believe that you are my wife, and I'm going to treat you as such. And
Yeah.
we can't have sex no more. And I'm all looking like, what's wrong with this nigga?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
totally forgot because I'm in my flesh now.
That's it.
So
That's
my flesh, I done fed my flesh more than I fed my spirit in that moment. So
yeah.
now the flesh girl, like, is this nigga, what's wrong
Yeah.
with him? He
Yeah.
cheating on me.
Yeah.
Number one,
On the
because that's them
insecurities.
knots.
Here come
Yeah,
the insecurities. Yeah. Yeah,
insecurities.
that's
Oh,
them
he cheating on
ties.
me. He wants
Yes.
somebody else. Oh,
Yes.
what he not gonna do is about to do this to me. And
Yeah.
then it was just like, oh, is he gay or something? Like, what he mean? All of the flesh stuff talking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he left.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on my bed and I was like, oh my gosh, like, God, what just happened? And God was like, ta-da.
Yeah.
Like, this light bulb went off. Like, I gave you what you asked me for. I
Yeah.
gave you a man that was going to honor you and not want sex from you, but to want to explore and get to know who you are and handle your heart. And I was just like,
Yeah.
and so from that point on,
Yeah.
I shut the cookie, the V and the P down.
Down. Yeah.
So I had a little relapse, babe. I don't think I ever told you about that. This late night tea, this how you do.
Yeah, we didn't have an accident, but we had inappropriate, what they call it, heavy petting.
Mm-hmm.
Petting, and it went under that same category.
Yeah, it does.
Over soul ties. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't do something to help him relieve himself, he's
Yeah,
gonna leave me.
exactly.
Because that's what people do is they leave to go. And I was like, no, I don't want him to leave. He's the guy that God. And immediately
Immediately.
my husband was like, can't do that.
And I will honestly say it was the best thing
Me
on
too.
our honeymoon. to be married and to come together as one, like consummate a marriage, and I just felt like I felt great because I'm like, God loved me that much. He loved me that much
That's it.
that he would allow me to experience this again after I have abused my body
Yeah.
out here. And the one thing I realized, like I even tell my daughters today, is that when you out here sex driving, test driving, all of these people, when you do get married, now them knots that you talk about, now you have to put away all of these things that you done taught yourself, because now you want your husband to live up to all of these people out here that they don't have nothing to do with him. You ain't give yourself a chance to get to know him, because now you got all of these knots and like, he ain't doing this and he ain't doing that and such used to do that. And they are them knots that you talking about that you got to deal with after you married.
Yeah, and I call them.
Deal with them after I'm married.
Yeah, I call them a point of reference, and that it's the conversation that we don't like to have, but you can't. You can do away with it because God's way is going to prove itself correct. His word is not going to return void. So if he tells us not to do something, it's a reason that he tells us to not do it.
Yes.
So if we didn't have any consequences to it, then his word will become void. So it has to. We have to have some kind of consequences to sin.
Yeah.
We just have to. Let's call a thing a thing.
It is.
So the reason why I make a point of saying that, Danny, is because you can't escape the point of reference. And you will get in the bedroom with your husband or your wife that you love deeply. And you will have to tackle those soul ties. You will, the cologne, the songs on the radio, the way somebody touches you. It's just like, it's like a
the positions, all of the things you brought into the bedroom. You have to let go all of those things. It's like that leave and cleave. To me, I feel like that leave and cleave that you're supposed to be leaving your parents and cleaving to your husband. For me, it was leaving and cleaving all of that foolishness, all of those soul ties, all of that reckless behavior to try to understand what this is supposed to be. And that was a lot.
You want to talk about tea? I'm going to say this in 30 seconds. You want to talk about tea? What you say? Bring the tea? Spill the tea?
Bring the tea. Late night tea.
Yeah, late night tea. That's it. This is late night tea. So if your initial sexual encounter was in your someplace where you had to be quiet, like because somebody was in the room, you introduced sex like, shh, somebody might hear us. So then you get married to a guy that wants to hear you, and you like, I don't do no talking. Why don't you talk? Because you were introduced to sex quietly. So the body keeps the score. The body holds the memory. So when you train the body a particular way, the body responds that way until you remove the soul tie.
Wow.
So how you're introduced into sex. So for those that were touched inappropriately, your body has to recondition because the body remembers.
That dead body memory.
The body holds memory. So when your husband goes to touch you, the body is going to respond on how it was initially taught to respond. Wow. You take that to the bank.
Wow.
If somebody had told me that, I'd have kept my legs closed. I don't feel like all of that. I just want to get in the bed with my husband, have a good time.
Exactly. I don't need all of these other things and stuff in the bed with us.
I don't need that. I don't want that.
That's all it is. Like, get off of here, get away. And they like, no, we together. We were together before you and him was together. You gotta pry these things away. And this was the most amazing thing I always remember that you said to me. That was afterwards, but this was during one of our. So okay, I totally forgot that now we're into the married sessions. Did they have a name?
Victory in marriage.
Victory in marriage. Okay.
Victory in
So
marriage.
now we into these marriage sessions. I'm a newly married woman, and we in these sessions, and she talking about submission. And at the time, I'm like 2 years in, 3 years in, but I'm sitting there shaking like, girl, I don't know what you talking about.
You was sick of me over that submission.
I was just moving. I just couldn't keep my little seat still. I'm shaking and I'm like, but I don't really want to say nothing in front of these women. But I just needed clarity. And it's like at the end of the session, I was like, wait. So what you saying is, and it was basically like, I'm like, you saying that I need to follow this nigga over a cliff, and if he follow over the cliff, you saying God gonna touch him? I gotta wait for God to catch him, and if God don't catch him, we both going over.
That's right.
Yeah. That was like, I was like, yeah, I don't know about this married thing.
Yeah.
But divorce ain't never gonna be an option on the table for me. So, it was like, I ain't know about it, but it's like, well, what you gonna do, sis?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing you can do but submit to what you need to do that the word said you needed to do.
Yeah. You and your husband riding down the street in a car, you got a Mac and he's driving. And you looking and you telling him, babe, it's a cliff right there. And he's like, nope, I'm keeping it. Like, babe, I'm telling you, I'm looking at the Mac. I can tell you we're about to go over the cliff.
Yes.
And he's driving. My question is, what you going to do? Most people say, I'm going to take the steering wheel and turn the car. That's the controlling woman.
Yeah,
the controlling woman just like, I got it. Move out of the way.
No cliff. Let me do.
And then the person, the runner, say, I'm jumping out of the car. The runner's jumping out of the car. Go down by yourself. That's the woman that's like, if it go too bad, I'm leaving. Yeah. Give me my stuff. I'm filing for divorce today.
Right.
You have the woman that's submitted, that's doing it God's way. That's like, come on, baby, we going over the cliff. You go over the cliff, and a couple of different things can happen. You can go over the cliff, and God got a parachute, and y'all never even really hit rock bottom.
Don't even hit it.
Some of us, and this would be me, hit rock bottom. And guess what you do as a godly kingdom woman? You get that man up, baby, that's okay. Come on, God got us.
We're going to build back up together.
We still alive. Come on. Yes. Like we're going to buy a new car and we're going to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. That's doing it.
That's where you want to be. And I swear I've been married for 8 years, y'all, going on 9. It took me about 6 to learn this principle, and I'm still learning. Yeah, I'm still learning, but me and Bay out here together.
that's the way. Me too.
We out here together. Yeah, it's like I don't even get mad no more. Like one day he called me like, "Hey, I already know because sometimes he still tread lightly when he comes because I'm gonna blow up."
Yeah.
So he sent something like, I ain't want to tell you, but. And I looked at the text like, oh, well, no worries. We don't got to worry about it again. And I put the phone down and finished curling hair. And I was like, I surprised myself. I surprised myself with the reaction.
Come on. That's good.
It just reminded me of those classes were very intricate in me being a new, woman married. And I had been single all my life. So I had to leave and cleave, and it took me 6 years to leave and cleave.
That's the word right there.
Yeah, it took me 6 years to leave and cleave.
Yeah.
And I wasn't leaving mother. I ain't have no parents to leave.
Yeah.
I was leaving my own single-mindedness and behavior as a single mother with 2 girls that I told you do this, you do that, do that. I told them what to do, how to do it for years.
Yes.
All of their lives. And now I have a husband I'm supposed to come and be like, you take the seat.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. And so it took me 6.5 years to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And so, in that leaving and cleaving. So that was one of the things you told me, but I'm also going to add that. Do you remember when you said marriage is like, she gave this analogy of what she thinks marriage, like what marriage is for God. And it's like, once we get married and he like, oh yeah, they finally connected. And she felt like God go up on this, this shelf and having and pull out this box, and it has the two people that got married, their names on it. And it's like he opens the box up, and then it's like now their lives begin. And
Yeah.
all of the stuff that's in that box is all of the things that you have to go through
Yeah.
to get to how
Yeah.
God sees you and that man in marriage.
That's
And I
right.
was just looking at her like, who wants to who wants to do that? But I was already married. What nothing I could do.
Yeah. But it's not just full of bad stuff. Look
Right,
at
right,
look at
right.
where you are right now.
Yeah, yeah. You right.
Like, and it's just the beginning. It's
Right,
just the
right.
beginning. But
Yeah.
you're right here because the box couldn't get open until y'all got married. And the box is open now. And
And
look,
then
so
for some people may feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta start over. Yeah, you weren't married, you were single. You
yeah.
know, now you're
You
starting
can
off
live
over
together
married.
for years. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
be quiet. You can live together for 20 years. Y'all could have been together for y'all could live together for 20 years and been dating for 40 years. The box
Mhm.
isn't open.
So the
It
stuff
doesn't
that God has for you ain't even
until you are in covenant because it's
mm,
a covenant box.
in
That's for a
covenant.
covenant marriage. So it
Mm,
can't open when y'all just living together. It can't open
mm,
when y'all just talking about marriage, when y'all act like you married. No,
mhm,
it is saved for covenant. And once you come into covenant relationship, it's like boom, the door's
mm.
open.
Yeah, the
And God
door's
is
open.
like, finally,
And
finally.
I feel like I think I said this the other night. It was like, yeah, after that wedding, that one day, now you starting this lifetime, and you go through all of that process, and it's like I feel like I was Simba stumbling over into the dark side. Remember he was playing and he stumbled himself from pride land over into the dark side.
Hmm.
That's how I felt like marriage was like, whoa, God, am I
Yeah,
being punked?
yeah,
Because this is hard.
yeah.
But it was those, I feel like because you gave me that analogy, I'm like, I always have told myself there are tools in that box
That's
that's
right.
going to help us through
That's right.
this situation. Tools in that box
No doubt about it.
that's going to help us through
No
this
doubt about
situation.
it.
And
Everything we need to get through it.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Everything we need.
And so that's the one thing that it's been several things that you have transitioned me into. This is about sexting, and I think that we have ended, but that to all of that, what we have, talked about. The other thing was that when I had to let go of, like, you transitioned me in business. It was like, there I go again, running to her like, I can't do this no more. This happened, that happening, such. And she was like, it's time for you to go.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what?
yeah.
I can't go. Like, this been my life. I've been here for 17 years. What do
Everything.
you mean I gotta go and start over? It's kind of like, I was like that Joshua that had to take over, and go, you know, just
Get the promise. I
yes,
need to go
without
get the
promise.
promise.
And
Yeah.
now it's like you gotta go. Moses
Moses is
gone.
dead. Moses is
Moses is
dead.
gone. I'm like, no, where Moses?
Yeah.
Moses been here
Moses
all
is
my life telling us what to
dead.
do. Moses said, do this. I need Moses to tell me what to do. He
Yeah.
like, no, Joshua, raise up.
Yeah.
It's time for
Most
you to do it.
you need it.
And so in that, it was like, here you were again in my life, for yet another transition,
Yeah.
intense transition.
Yeah.
And, it was that safe place that you've always been in my life to transition me, not just in singlehood, but
Yeah.
in marriage,
Yeah.
but, in
Business.
as a from into the kingdom, as we were with glam, and then also transitioning me from that single mindset into a marriage where I am able to submit, and just look at it in a different way. And then also where you're like, you ready, girl? It's just take your position.
Yeah.
You don't need that person. You can't. And then that's where a virtuous touch was birthed. And so, and so when I said in my email, me and this wonderful woman of God have history.
Yeah.
We have history, and it all is his story
Yeah.
because God used her to, be in my life and, connect with me and to give me such a foundation in our relationship at when we met that I always felt like you were a safe place for me to come to. I'll never not think that I'm not a safe place for us to come to, and that even when we don't talk, when we don't see each other, that love is always gonna be there, always gonna be there. And so, I just thank God for me recognizing now what valued relationship look like.
That's
And in you having those valued relationships, valuable relationships, it's just unconditional love. That's what it is. Whether you show up for things, whether you see each other, it's just not about all of that, the stuff you can see. It's about the stuff you don't see.
yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to, publicly thank you for that because,
Thank
though I don't know if I put some of this stuff in my book, I think I might have, but I am honoring you today because you have been in some major transitions in my life. And I thank you for that. And with Worth the Wait, that is like an amazing thing that we need when it comes to Worth the Wait.
you.
And to also, look at all of the other things that you are doing as it relates to marriage. We need it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to say whatever your last and final words to a single woman, a married woman, whatever God lays on your heart. Because I'm gonna say this, y'all, before she leave. What one little thing. There was this time I just told my husband this, but I don't know why I came to you. It was something that was happening in our marriage, and it was the beginning. I think he was in the hospital, like while I was away doing us dating, doing our courtship. And so I came to you and I was talking to you about it. And you said I never told you why he was in the hospital. I just was like, oh my gosh, he in the hospital. I'm in Miami, such and such. I never told you why he was in the hospital. And until I didn't find out until I went to the hospital why he was there. But I called you and you was talking to me and you said he suffers from a broken heart. And you are the woman that God put in his life to help heal that heart.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I was just looking like, what? Again, that's too much to put on somebody. I mean, man, this guy just started dating. Like, that's too much to put on this guy. Like, that's too much for me. I can't do all of that.
Oh my gosh.
I was. But when I went to the hospital, y'all, do y'all know I found out that this man, it was because of his blood pressure that
Yeah.
affected his heart.
Mm.
And he was in the hospital because his heart was, attacking him like shutting
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Like, when he told me, he was telling me, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is the world? So you know, I'm just saying, y'all, you
Yeah.
gotta have somebody that's in your ear, like
Yeah.
in your that celebrating you, riding for you. It looked like other people at that moment when you was in my ear was telling me the opposite. And
Yeah.
at you got to know, are you going to stay with the children of Israel that keep murmuring and complaining? Or are you going to leave the children of Israel and transition yourself so that you can move forward to Canaan, become Joshua, and go to the promised land where God intended for you to go?
No doubt. No
So
doubt.
that's my last words of tea
That's
for
good
this
tea.
woman of God. And do you have any last words for the people? I hope this was great for you guys.
Yeah. I hope somebody was blessed by a portion of our testimony. The scripture says we overcome by the words of our testimony.
Mm.
And so other people are able to overcome because of what you share. That's why your book is so powerful. because it's a testament of what God has carried you through. And
Yes.
somebody will read that and see God can carry me through as well. And so I hope someone is inspired. I've adopted a saying for my life, Dan, that I reproduce reproduces that reproduce reproduces.
Mm.
Mandate and the mantle on my life
Mm-hmm.
is to do just what you talked about today. Is that from a conversation, from a dialogue, for something to reproduce in you, that you're able to help somebody else and they're
Yes.
able to reproduce that, and it just goes on and on. To me, that's kingdom living.
Yes, it
So
is.
that's the mandate on kingdom people, in my opinion. And so I say that to say so excited about what God is doing in your life, in your
Mhm.
family's life, the girls,
Mhm.
the business.
Yes.
None of it is a surprise to me because I saw this for you and
Mhm.
bigger for you
Yeah. I know.
many, many years ago.
I know.
And so I'm grateful to be a part on this level because it's
Yeah.
going to come a time that it's going to be like, who, Celeste, whatever. Okay. But to
Mhm.
the single women out there, know your worth, know your value.
Yes.
Get to know yourself as a complete person before you try to get somebody to complete you.
Yes. Yes. Say
Recognize,
that again.
get to know yourself, the complete you before you try to get somebody to
To
complete.
complete you. That is
'Cause,
awesome.
everybody says, "Oh, he completes me." No,
Mm-mm.
no,
No.
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 Find who you are
Yes.
first,
Yeah.
and then the two of you come together and create something different.
Yes.
Create something that breaks generational curses off of your family. That's
Mm-hmm.
what kingdom relationships are all about. And so how you do a kingdom relationship is to do it God's way. I
Yeah.
highly recommend that you seek wise counsel. Get
Mm-hmm.
around people who have what you want. Stop
Yes.
going to your single friends getting advice about
Mm-hmm.
something they've never been a part of before.
Absolutely.
And so I want to offer that to the single women, to the married women. Don't lose hope.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose hope.
Mm-hmm.
Two are better than one.
Yes.
Nothing is too hard for God, and that there's always an opportunity for restoration.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
I know that sometimes it can be lonely, sometimes it can hurt, sometimes you feel like anger, sometimes you think you chose the wrong person or the wrong person chose you. If
Yes.
you're in covenant relationship, then you have an opportunity to make it work.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, I know a lot of people disagree with me. I hope they don't email you and say bad things, but I personally don't think God honors people. I think he honors covenant. So I
Yes.
think God is concerned about Celeste and Randy being married. That is Celeste and that is Randy. What I think he's concerned about is covenant. And
Mm-hmm.
we went before him and made covenant. So now we have covenant power.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what I personally believe about marriage. Many people would think, that God is concerned about, boo and bang. No, he's concerned
Mm-mm.
about covenant. And
Yes.
so if you're in covenant relationship, there's hope.
Yeah.
So no such thing as I married the wrong person.
Mm.
You're married to a person, then that's the person.
Yes.
Work. Do the work. And
Yeah.
if you find that you're being abused, that this is just a bad marriage, then go.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If it's abuse, if it's toxic, if you
Mhm.
know you have no business with that person, but if you just having a hard time in a covenant relationship, welcome to real life.
Welcome to real life. Welcome to marriage.
Yeah, because it's not going to be fair.
No.
Marriage is not fair.
Mm-mm. No, not at all.
And I'll leave that. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'm here for it. You right. I agree. It's about the covenant. So, I make no apologies of being who I am, on this platform. And somebody said you can say that again. It's about covenant. It
Yeah,
ain't no anniversary of you and when y'all started dating. That ain't anniversaries don't start till that covenant
that's
hit.
right. Yeah,
So, I do agree. And I just want to thank you guys for tuning in for us late night tea with my wonderful special girlfriend. And I just want to thank you so much again.
Thank
I know that you have a lot going on. We done went over our time. Thank y'all for staying here and
you.
sticking in with us.
Thank
I
you.
hope this message tonight, have helped you. And I want you to go follow Celeste on Instagram. Give them your handles, or y'all can look on my page.
Sure will. It's Pastor Celeste
That's
on
Pastor.
Instagram. On Facebook, it's Pastor Celeste. Or you can go to my website, Pastor Celeste Ministries, and sign up for couples coaching or one-on-one sessions with me. And
One-on-one couple coach. Yes, and she has Worth the Wait.
yes,
She has Worth the Wait is a actual ministry.
for my single ladies. My
Yes.
single ladies is worth the wait. And it's not just a thing about waiting and about waiting for your husband. It's about waiting for career opportunities. Everybody is in a season of waiting for something.
Yes. Yes.
And so there's a way to wait.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So y'all, I done told y'all almost five ministries and she done had. That's for singles and married. So y'all go follow her and y'all see everything that she's doing. And it is to impact the kingdom of God so that you guys will become worthy, purposeful, and become who God has created you to be. Thank you, Celeste. Thank y'all for joining me. I love you guys. We are
Shout out
tuning
to Grace
out.
Fellowship if y'all listening. Sorry.
Grace Fellowship is on here live and kicking, girl. They talking, honey. Yeah, I know your people. They've been on here. They following you, honey. Yes, Grace Fellowship. And she has a ministry. So y'all go follow her for y'all that don't have a ministry, because this might be a great ministry for you.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I love you, sis. I will be connecting with you soon. I'm not gonna bother you tonight because you need to go to bed.
Yes, thank you. All right, y'all have a great night.
Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
Okay.